One is that to have any sporting event, we have to have officials, and where guys cut their teeth as officials is in youth sports. And when they go to officiate these youth sporting events, especially the kids that are 18 to 25 years old nowadays, they have other ways that they can go make money. I started officiating when I was 16 years old, doing some like t-ball games in Veneta, and it was because I wanted to make money. And nowadays, these kids can go make money other ways. And so when they show up to these youth sporting events and they get, for lack of a better way to put it, they get verbally abused. They're like, man, to heck with this. I'm not going to keep doing this. This is crazy. And so we have a lack of officials in every sport. And, people get sick of hearing that. And to be honest with you, man, my response to that is get better at your job and you're not going to get verbally abused by people. But that's a different subject. But we have to be conscious of the way we're speaking to these people. Dude, when I was helping my dad coach, I was an awful human being from the corner. I was terrible. And I see it now as on the other side as an official. But when I got into refereeing wrestling, I had to apologize to a whole bunch of people because I was a jerk when I was coaching with my dad. I was not a nice person. And I had to apologize to people, but I took that personally as if I don't want people to talk to me that way, I got to be good at my job. And so I strive to not get taken to the table by wrestling coaches because I want to be good at it. I'm not always, I'm obviously, I sit at home and my boy JR Blows, you'll get to watch him in a couple days on NCAAs. That's an official that I've grown up watching my entire life. We can sit at home and watch it on TV. I promise I'll scream at him 2 or 3 times about calls in OSU matches this weekend because I'm like, come on, but I'm not the one that's out there in the middle of that adrenaline filled position and making those calls. And then the other thing that you're talking about is cutting weight. Man, at 7 and 8 years old, no one's going to remember except you and him if he went to the state tournament or not. And kids quit wrestling because they cut weight too soon.
Yep.
I'm a firm believer in what that kid weighs. Let him. And wrestling starts in October for young kids and ends at the end of February. Kids at 7, 8 years old are gonna grow at that age. If they grow up to the next weight, let them wrestle the next weight. They're not, I mean, at 35 years old, sure, I wish I'd have done a little better at the state tournament, but it doesn't define who I am as a person. Wrestling defines who I am as a person because it taught me life lessons. So cutting weight at a young age, man, I'm like, I see kids do it. I see kids be really successful, but I could tell you a laundry list of kids that wrestled for us that were really, really good as young kids that pulled a lot of weight, that some of them didn't even finish wrestling in high school because they were over it. They were done. It's a grueling, just like you said, mano a mano sport that teaches you life lessons. Because when you get to be our age, you don't have a team to lean on. It's you, man. You got those life decisions to make, and it's you. So it's a
Yep.
hard sport. It's tough, and kids cutting weight at that age is, I don't love it. I'll be honest.
No, it's if it's cutting out a candy bar or pop, that I'm for that. Like, hey, let's do it naturally, stuff like that. But I've had a parent one time in football ask me, like, do you think trash bags? I said, nope, we're done having this conversation. I don't want to hear another word of it. Don't
No.
do it. I mean, because these kids are going to mature, they're going to hit their maturity and puberty and teenage years, and some of the bigger kids might get skinnier. Some of the skinnier kids might get bigger. You
Hmm.
just never know. But it's beautiful chaos. I love the sport. It's teaches a lot of life lessons, like you said. So I mean, and Scotty here, folks, he's a hell of a referee. He is a hell of a referee. Like softball too. He does the softball. He's good. He's good at what he does, and like he just said, he strives to try to not get complaints from coaches. And that reminded me of a story that I just saw from the on the Facebook site. I was at the game. He was interviewing some refs, and one of the refs said that his wife got tired of him always complaining about the calls and yelling at the refs. She said, "Well, if you think you're so good, why don't you go do it?" And so he got in the interview scene, and then he said, like you said, he realized real quick, oh my gosh, this ain't as easy as I thought it was. I mean, because I can only imagine being a ref. Like when I'm coaching the youth football or baseball, you've got all these fans looking at you. You're out there kind of on a lonely island a little bit, and then these kids too, they're out there with all these people watching, and then you got one ref that's supposed to control everything, and if anything goes bad, everybody's yelling at you. So it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure.
I will add this to that though, that it is a lot of pressure. It's hard, but I'll tell you, dude, that officiating softball and wrestling in particular. I do football too. Got my first football state championship this year. I was pretty proud of that. It was a lot of fun with a group of Vanita guys, which was even cooler. But uh, it's taken me places that I would have. I mean, I've been to California to do softball. I've been to Colorado a couple times. I've gone to Kansas City to do wrestling, and that's just, it's taken me places, and I've got to see places that I never would have seen otherwise. So anybody that is considering officiating, I don't want it to scare them away from it, because there's so many opportunities, dude. I got to stand next to Patty Gasso on a softball field and umpire one of her games. That was bucket list for me, man. That was actually the last softball game that I ever did, and I drove home for Norman and thought, life is complete. I don't need to do any more softball. I'm
This
good.
one, yep, done. You met the
I've
goat.
stood, yeah, I've stood on Love's Field and called for gas. So this is it. And so those opportunities are available. It is something just like anybody else, anything else that you work hard at and you put effort into and you invest in it. I mean, I've made a lot of money doing it too. I'll just be honest that you can make some good money officiating sports, and young college kids or single men and women that don't have a family. It's a great way to give back to the sport. If my dad retired in Oklahoma and went on to Kansas, and that's when I got into officiating wrestling, because I didn't really want to be done with wrestling, but I knew I didn't really want to coach it anymore. And I had some buddies, some really close friends that had talked to me a lot about officiating wrestling. And I thought, you know what? Let's do it. And man, I have fallen in love with it.